Hey there, welcome back. In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at how to write essays for double questions. Okay, let's have a look at one. Many people try to create a balance between their professional life and their personal life. However, very few are able to achieve such a balance. What problems stop people from achieving a work-life balance? How can these problems be overcome? Okay, so this is a very typical double question that you can get given in your IELTS writing task 2. In this case, it's a problem and solution question. So question 1 asks you to identify the problems, and question 2 asks you to identify some solutions. So for example, some ways that people can achieve a better work-life balance. Now, there are other double question types. Have a look at this one. The way that people work is changing rapidly. Unlike the past, workers cannot depend on having the same working conditions or even the same job throughout their working life. Discuss the possible causes for this rapid change and suggest ways of preparing people for the world of work in the future. Okay, so again, we've got two questions that we need to answer. But this time it's not a problem-solution essay, it's a cause-solution essay. So question 1 is asking us to identify the causes, so the causes of this rapid change in work. And then question 2, again, is asking us to identify some solutions. Okay, so we could have a problem-solution essay, a cause-solution essay, but there are other types of double questions. Have a look at this one. Some parents give their children everything that they ask for and allow them to do what they want. Is this good for children? What could be the consequences for these children when they grow up? Okay, so this time the first question is asking us to evaluate the advantages and disadvantages of spoiling children, and then the second part is asking us for the consequences. Okay, so as you can see, there are many different types of double questions that you can be asked. The important thing is that you identify when you're being asked to write an essay for a double question. And it's very important that you answer both questions in your essay. Now, to do that, we're going to use a simple structure. We're going to have the introduction, body paragraph 1, where we answer question 1, body paragraph 2, where we answer question 2, and then we're going to have a conclusion. Okay, so in our introduction, we're going to introduce the topic and respond to the question. In our body paragraph 1, we're going to have a topic sentence, a development, and a link. And for example, if you're asked about the problems, so we're not just asked about one problem, but problems, plural, then we also need to have a topic sentence, a development, and possibly a link for our second idea. Again, in body paragraph 2, we're going to have a topic sentence, a development, and then a link. And if we're asked about the solutions, so again, plural, not just one solution, but solutions, then we're also going to have a second solution with a topic sentence, a development, and a link. Finally, our conclusion, as always, is going to be very simple. We're just going to restate our position, so our opinion, and then we're going to summarize the ideas that we've already mentioned in our body paragraphs. Okay, let's write one. So imagine we get this question, the problem-solution question. The first thing that we're going to do is underline the keywords that help us to understand this question. So, many people try to create a balance between their professional life and their personal life. Okay. However, very few people are able to achieve such a balance. So it's difficult to get a balance between your professional life and your personal life. What problems? So again, we've got problems with the S, it's plural. So we know we need to mention more than one problem. What problems stop people from achieving a work-life balance? How could these problems be overcome? Okay, so in this case, we're going to be writing the solutions as well. Now, once we've underlined the keywords in the question, we're going to brainstorm ideas. So we want to think about 2 problems and 2 solutions. And here's a tip. When you write problem solution essays in your IELTS exam, make sure that the problems and the solutions are linked together. So, for example, the solutions solve the problems that you identify. I'll show you what I mean. So here's a problem. If you have a desire for material success, it's going to push you to work harder and maybe neglect other aspects of your life, like family time. Okay, so how could we solve that? Well, maybe we need to put more emphasis on our spiritual well-being and psychological health, and less emphasis on trying to improve our material success and develop our careers. Okay, so do you see the way this problem and this solution are linked? The problem we identify is solved by the solution that we identify. Next, it's easier to fall into dull routines rather than making time for other aspects of our life that require more effort, like pursuing hobbies. You know the way, for example, when you finish work, you feel so tired, and instead of doing something productive or enjoyable or meaningful, you just sit there watching television instead. So you fall into these dull work habits. So in order to solve that, we need to learn to plan to use our time well and effectively to do non-work activities like meeting up with friends and family or doing cultural events. Okay, so now that we've brainstormed ideas and we've got problems and solutions which are clearly linked, it's time for our plan. So we're writing a problem solution essay. We're going to have paragraph 1, which identifies the 2 problems, and paragraph 2, which identifies the 2 solutions. An alternative plan might be that we'd have paragraph 1, which has the first problem and the first solution, and paragraph 2, which has the second problem and the second solution. However, for this case, we're going to group our problems and we're going to group our solutions. We're going to start with the introduction. Now we know our introduction needs to introduce the topic and respond to the question. So first we're going to introduce the topic. We're going to say this. Many people find it difficult to balance the demands of their work with other aspects of their lives. So nice and short and to the point, we're introducing the main theme of this essay. Next we respond to the question, which is where we let the examiner know our opinion based on this question. So for a problem solution essay, we're going to briefly summarize the problems and the solutions that we're going to write about in more detail in our essay. I believe that this is compounded by a narrow focus on material and career success and the ease of falling into dull habits and routine. In order to address these, I would recommend focusing on aspects of our lives other than material success and making a consistent effort to plan and use our leisure time effectively. Okay, so we've introduced the topic and we've responded to the question, and just by reading this introduction, the examiner already has quite a clear idea about what they're going to find in our body paragraphs. Let's move on to our body paragraphs. So body paragraph 1 has the topic, sentence, development and link for both of our problems. So we're going to start with the topic sentence for problem 1. The first problem comes from an increased focus on career development and material success. Development. These priorities motivate people to pay more attention to their work and consequently less regard to other aspects of their life. Finally, we're going to have the link. And remember, the link is optional. This causes dissatisfaction when people neglect parts of their life that they actually strongly value, such as their family life. Okay, so we've fully developed this idea, we've fully developed this first problem, and now it's time to mention the next problem. So again, we've got the topic, sentence, development, and link. We start with the topic sentence, which introduces our idea. A second problem relates to how our time and energy gets used. Development. Work routines are generally clear and easy to follow, but paying more attention to our family or hobbies requires consistent personal effort. Okay, let's finish with a link. As a result, many people fall into dull habits of work, housework, and passive forms of entertainment like watching television. Okay, so now we've identified and developed both of the problems that we mentioned in our essay. The next thing is to move on to body paragraph 2, where we look at our 2 solutions. Let's start with a topic sentence. I do not believe these kinds of problems can be overcome, suggesting permanently solved, only managed. One proposal is a renewed focus on our spiritual and psychological health. Okay, so in this case, our topic sentence is 2 sentences long, and that's because we also want to convey to the examiner that, well, our work-life balance can't really be solved. It's always going to be there, but it's always going to be there, but we can manage it better. So we want to convey that to the examiner. We also identify the first solution, which is a renewed focus on our spiritual and psychological health. Let's develop this idea a bit more. When we focus on our spiritual health or our communal needs to live among well-integrated families and communities, we often relax our narrow individual goals and desires related to career success. Let's finish with a link. This frees us from the feeling that it is important to prioritize work above all else. Okay, so we've developed this solution, but remember, we don't want to just write about one solution, we want 2 solutions. So topic sentence, development, and link for solution 2. Let's start with our topic sentence. Secondly, learning to plan and use our time well will enable us to form new habits that might be more in accord with leading a well-balanced life. Now notice we start the second solution with the word secondly. We want to make it very clear to the examiner that this is a new solution that we're proposing. It's the same when we mention our second problem. Next, we go on to the development. So we write more details about our idea. For example, making a concerted effort to dedicate our leisure time to hobbies or family commitments will often make us feel that we have achieved a more balanced and fulfilled life. Finally, we have the link. Once habits such as regularly meeting up with friends and family are established, they will be easier to maintain. Okay, so we've written body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, it's time to write the conclusion. And remember, our conclusions are simple. They're usually 1 to 4 sentences long, and they simply restate our position and summarize our ideas. So here's an example. In conclusion, while I feel that having a well-balanced life is certainly difficult to achieve, by placing more value on non-work aspects of our lives and actively making the effort to use our time differently, I feel that this is possible to address this common human dilemma. Okay, so we've restated our position and we've summarized our ideas. So we've summarized the solutions that we mentioned in our essay. Okay, the next step for you is to practice writing some double questions of your own. Remember, double questions appear quite regularly, around 18% of the time, well 18 to 21% of the time. So 1 in 5 IELTS essays is a double question. But the difficult thing is, there's lots of different double questions you can be asked. So I would recommend that you practice writing all 3 of the double questions that I mentioned or I showed you at the beginning of this lesson. So the problem and solution essay, the cause solution essay, and also the double question that asks you to evaluate whether it is good to spoil children, and then also asks you what the consequences are for those children when they grow up. In that way, you're going to feel even more prepared for your IELTS writing test. Okay, best of luck with your studies, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye then.